What is up, guys? Welcome to my channel. I've got so much to tell you guys, so many updates since I got married. I actually kind of have this little studio here. Sharon actually set up her side of the room so she can do her own creative thing. And I've got my little corner right here. And I think it's pretty awesome. And so I'm really excited to finally start creating videos for you guys. Today we're talking about 5 ways to be more creative. But before we get to that, I actually want to show you something outside. Let's walk and talk. Oh, and wear a jacket. It is so cold out here. I know global warming is really bad and everything, but if it doesn't start snowing by next year around here, I'm gonna be really mad because it's freezing. Anyways, why did I bring you guys out here? So I wanted to talk about my real #1 tip, but I think I'll just add it as a bonus for you guys. So remember that verse at the very beginning of the video? That is my real #1. All creativity comes from God. What does that have to do with anything? Let's take a look at a flower real quick. Now imagine for a second, you're an artist and you draw this flower. And imagine that flower looks completely 100% identical to the real flower. Then you tell people that you drew the flower and you deserve 100% of the credit. But not really. Because see, you didn't create the flower, God created the flower. So it's actually like plagiarizing God. So what I'm trying to say is all creation, everything that's created, it came from the imagination of God, not from your imagination necessarily. Every idea, every bit of creativity is just borrowed. Always give credit where it's due. All creativity, no matter how original it seems, comes from God. Now that's actually a good leeway into our real tip #1, which is steal. Now remember what I said before about plagiarizing God.
Plagiarizing God.
Everything really does apply to stealing from other people.
Always give credit where it's due.
I mean, technically you could take a picture that's pixel for pixel identical to someone else's picture, but as long as you can prove that you took the picture, it's considered 100% original work. Now, unless you really want to make people mad at you, I wouldn't steal people's work per se, but you could take people's ideas and put your own creative spin on it. 90% of my work actually comes from other people's ideas that I put a creative spin on. Try it out. Tip #2, spend time around creative people just like you. When I first started photography, I actually spent a lot of my time with some of the greatest photographers in the Bay Area. They are so humble and so amazing. They were just so open to sharing all of their information. Some people won't be so willing to share information, but be a sponge, absorb it, take it. It's so easy to just shy away from people who are so much more talented than you, but it's so important to be around them, to learn from them, to learn from their mistakes. It'll launch you way ahead of anybody else who's in the same industry as you. Now for tip #3, I actually want to go inside because it's really cold out here. Whew, I'm so glad we're back. All right, so tip #3, this one's kind of tricky. Becoming artistically literate. It's so important for you to know your game, know exactly what everyone is talking about. When you're watching a YouTube video and someone says something you don't really understand, pause the video, hop over to Google it, come back to the video. This is going to increase the value of the information that you receive and the value of the information that you give. It'll also increase your overall value as an artist, which is never a bad thing. Some people will tell you, as an artist, you don't really need to know all these things, but you kind of do. As a photographer, it's really important for you to understand everything about crop sensors, full frame sensors, prime lenses, f-stop, shutter speed, and especially ISO. How do all these things affect your pictures? So know your game. Tip #4, jump into a different medium. For those of you who don't know what a medium is, it's basically what you use to create your art. So for a painter, it would be a canvas and a paintbrush. For me as a photographer, it's photography. The definition of photography is painting with light. So why jump into a different medium? Let me get nerdy here for a second. Creativity stimulates pathways in the brain, making them shorter and shorter. So the more creative things that you do, the shorter those pathways become. Sometimes they'll even join together to create shortcuts. So you'll take one idea from one place and combine it with another idea from somewhere else and realize they fit together really well. And now you've got an incredible original idea. In fact, someone who plays music and paints is far more creative than someone who just paints alone. I've actually been able to combine some ideas that I got from woodworking with my videography. And it sounds kind of weird, it makes no sense at all. But in my mind, it kind of does. It's one of those weird things that you gotta try. Trust me, it works. Tip number 5, this is the final tip. And it might not seem very significant, but it is. Change your workspace around. Most people would consider Sharon and I to be really creative people, and we love changing our room around. It really gives us a breath of fresh air. It makes us feel so renewed, and it really stimulates our minds. It keeps us thinking. It makes us think, how can we make the room look even better and be even more efficient? Sometimes you might spend a little bit more on organizational tools, but it is totally worth it. If you're on a budget, you can always look on Amazon. There's always some really great stuff for really good prices. That's going to conclude the video for today. That was 5 ways to be more creative. These are things that I have personally done to increase my creativity. These are actually things I do every single day. If you want a chance to vote on what video I put up next, follow me on Instagram. I give everyone a chance to vote on what videos they want to see. I want to thank my Instagram followers for voting on this video. I'll see you in the next one.